Hi, everybody. This is Kathy L. Murphy, the Pulpwood Queen, and I'm here with the Ramspergers. Yay! Kathy's here with her husband, and she has
My
on the most
daughter.
amazing tiara. Tell us about this tiara.
So a friend of mine gave it to me as a gift before I published Shores. It's a Snow White crown, and
Oh, my-
there is a lady at on Long Beach Island where Eileen is today, who makes these, and all different fairy tales.
that's
And
beautiful.
I always say my first book was a sleeper. Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha. Oh, and I guess you got a kiss from the prince, huh?
I
So
fine.
yeah.
So So here is my flying thing, and I've got them all over the shirt. You just can't see
Oh, I can see they're like
the
little.
bluebirds, right? And
Oh, and the feathers.
and
Yeah.
this, I'm not sure I can give up this shirt, but I have two more of these, which will be in the swag bag. They're all origami
I love origami.
for girlfriends weekend.
I had a Japanese exchange student that stayed with me, Chisato, and she taught us how to do the little paper folding. And it all happened when Hurricane Katrina hit. And all these people were stranded in Jefferson. And so in the afternoons, we'd meet on the front porch and she'd teach them how to fold paper. It made the time, and we read stories and everything. I love that. I love the story of the birds, and I wish I had the finished cover to show. I don't. I just have my, bound man or my manuscript. So do you have the cover that you can show of your
I have,
beautiful
I
book?
just have the Kindle, but I've got two different. So
Yeah, there
I
you go.
printed this out, and
It's
and there's,
beautiful.
thank you, Debbie. I'm very bad at keeping it up on a Kindle. It just fades away. So I thought, okay, I'm going to print this out, and then I have a wonderful publicist who made this.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I love the colors of it. And I love the bird and the boy. And it's just it really draws you into the story. So we're really excited about it. And this is amazing because you're a two-time Pulpwood Queen selection. Because I picked the shores of I always get it wrong. The Shores of Our Souls, which is also a novel. And it also won, for everybody listening who will be listening when it's up on YouTube, she won our International Book of the Year. And so I found a picture of you by Googling on the internet, because, I lost everything when my computer got wet, of you doing your acceptance speech. And did you tape it? Did your husband tape it? Did you
He
guys
did.
tape?
He
You
did.
should share that. You
Okay, I
share
will.
it, and because it was a
I've
wonderful,
shared a
touching.
clip. I haven't shared the whole, well, I'm not sure he got the whole thing, but he got a
That's
lot of,
okay.
he did a
Yeah.
good job.
Yeah, do I would love to share it because I love the story, and then we all got the little feather, and I got the gold boots. So I'm pretty excited about the gold boots myself. But anyway, well, for those who have not read it yet, and I imagine most of the people here haven't read it because it just
Just
debuted today. Um, let's give people just a little taste of this story and a little backstory on how this story came into fruition, because it's fascinating to me.
thank you.
Bye.
So, yeah, he's gonna go try and get on, but at least wanted you to, I wanted him to wave and say hello in case he doesn't.
Okay, well, we
So,
got a good crew tonight. Thank you, everybody.
well, thank you, and it was such last minute. I'm just so
Whew.
appreciative, and I just want to say one thing, my son would be here too, except he is in the country, not the state of Georgia. So, so
I
he's
am.
asleep right now. So, so everything I write is about the human connection. And I try and take a microcosm, a family, a couple, and show how they reflect the world. I write about a lot of social issues and things of international interest because I've lived different places. So my first book, this is the one that won the bonus book of the year. is about two people who kind of accidentally fall in love. They couldn't be more different. And they meet under a disco ball in a smoke-filled bar and fall in love, and nobody approves. But they try and stay away from each other, but they can't. And so they end up empowering each other. I'm pretty sure most people here have read it, so I'll go ahead and give away a little bit of it. And their lives change because of each other. And everybody has been waiting very patiently for 1,000 flying things to finish up the story of Kasim and Diana. To see which one of those little crystals on the disco ball end up being the end of it. So Diana is now a humanitarian. It opens in South Sudan. I was going to have it open in Rwanda because I did a lot of reporting on Rwanda. But I was really close to that story. And I was too close, as a matter of fact. And I thought, well, South Sudan is such a mixture of cultures, and it's almost always at war. It's history. It's in the back of the book, the whole timeline of its history. Those people have endured so much and come out so resilient. And they finally have their own country. And so I have her there. She's teaching children to read, but she's teaching people to read in English. And she knows that that's not going to work, but she just wants to save some lives. And by the way, she would not have become a humanitarian without Kasim in her life. So there is something that catalyzes the story. And I think the second chapter, it's a little boy. His name is Khalil. I named him Khalil after Khalil Gibran. And his little hand appears over a big boulder one day.
Oh.
He can speak English, not very well, but pretty well. And she's hooked. She wants to teach him to read, but she's very concerned he's too young to be there. It's bad enough to have the teenagers there, but she feels like this is a baby. So she tries to save him. There's a warlord involved, but he's a very complex character, and things aren't as they seem. You'll find out at the end of the book. And she gets very ill and goes to Nairobi, and guess who she bumps into?
Yep.
There's more to it, but that's how it all, I've gotten you to almost the middle of the book now with that description.
It's great. We don't want to give away the story, but it's very, the minute I didn't have your cover per se when I got the typed manuscript, and I'm glad you got it to me. But when I saw the cover, I thought, oh, this is number 2. And it's very hard to go from a wonderful first book, which you won that award, to go write another one. And I think you did. I think you nailed it. I mean, I think people are going to be so taken by this story. And I always see everything visually. So do you, when you see it like a movie?
Like a movie.
I do too.
Starts with an image.
Right.
And then the characters start to talk to me. And then once I have the first chapter down, it plays like a movie.
It's so true. And that's why I tell anybody that's watching in Hollywood, Bollywood, wherever you may be, look at the Pulpwood Queens. They are writing stories that would make the best movies. I mean, if I see one more Marvel comic book feature or Shrek or, animated feature, I want a story that I can really get into and discuss with people about this human condition. And it's the connecting all of us together, all of you that have come tonight. It's so important. Thank you for being here, because to hear the author tell her story really brings it into full focus your story. So, and how long have you been brewing this story?
Oh my goodness. I think it was always in me.
Mhm.
It might not have been an Arab, Muslim, and a Christian Southern girl, but it was always about different cultures and the mix and the connection and the disconnection and what causes war. When I was even ninth grade, I think it was, I wrote this poem for the church bulletin. And
Do
it
you
was,
still have it?
I do, I don't have it here right now, but I can post it. It's all about how we find peace in war. So war and peace were always with me. I come from a family of veterans. My dad and my uncle fought in World War II. My cousin married a Green Beret for her first husband. It goes on.
Yeah.
And if I had been drafted, I would have fought. I just believed in it, but I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad my children haven't had to. I didn't believe in war, but I believed in protecting my country.
Right.
So when 9/11 happened, and I'm in DC, and everybody sees the World Trade Center, and my family knew people there. I knew of people, like they weren't close to me. But the Pentagon, you would have to drive past it for weeks seeing that hole. And after that, my Amy was just a preschooler, and we had the snipers. The first gentleman that was killed was a mile from our house. He was mowing the grass, and we had anthrax. And so that's a lot of trauma. And
Yeah.
I thought, how can I take this trauma and make it work for love and forgiveness? And I thought, I was already seeing Indian people, not even Arab people, being killed at gas pumps because they wore a turban. And I thought, this is only going to get worse. I want to write a book about that. And I had dated somebody in my early 20s, and I knew what he was like. He wasn't like Kasim. Kasim is a fabrication of my imagination.
Yeah.
But I thought, I want to write a real character, not just a flat movie theater piece.
Sort of stereotype. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
and we people of the United States, we tend to stereotype a culture of people by their extremists, and we don't really get to know the people. And that's why our book club is so important, because it's helping build bridges and helping us through these stories find out we're not so different. We may not dress the same or talk the same language, but as the world is getting more interconnected with technology, it's amazing. Have you seen the film My Name is Khan, starring Shah Rukh Khan?
yes, I have. For three
That's another,
minutes.
everybody should watch that 9/11. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it, because it's one of the most precious films I've ever seen. And it always just, and my first husband was Muslim. So I could relate to a lot of that. So we have this story that is going to make us think differently. What did you have an idea of a goal of what you wanted to have happen when people left the story? After they finished the book? What was your,
I mean, how I wanted to make people feel.
yes,
Yes, absolutely.
I
So
think that, yeah.
I feel like you can teach a lot better with a novel than anything, because to me it's truer than nonfiction. I was a humanitarian journalist. I'd written nonfiction my whole life. And sometimes people would understand, and sometimes people wouldn't. And the times I found them understanding more was when I interviewed people and told their story. So, and I'd always wanted to be a novelist. I'd always wanted to be a novelist. So I wanted people's heart to open, and I wanted their minds to open. I'm not talking about huge transformation in the person, in the reader,
Right.
but I was talking to somebody last week. She owns a bookstore, and she was talking about her first cruise, and they went to Bimini, and her eyes, I said, how was it? And she said, well, I felt a little conflicted because of the disparity between the people that lived there and us on the cruise ship that just came in and took over their island. And I said,
Yeah.
that's why I write, because most people do not know what it's like in other countries in the United States. I'm not quite certain why. I had stats. I was talking to Kathleen Rogers,
Yeah.
and we had stats about, I think it's 60% of people want to travel, which just breaks my heart, you know, that they can't. But it's a huge number of people that haven't even left their state. And so that's
Or
the other
county. Or county.
true. I wanted to share the world that I'd seen, the stories that I'd witnessed with other people. I wanted to open their hearts just a little bit to unconditional love, to walk in that other person's shoes, and to educate a little bit about what the world was. I had a question. I was on a book club today, wonderful book club. And I had a question. What did you eat there? You can't eat anything there. I mean,
Oh my
because I
goodness.
was there, you know, that I can clear that up because I wrote this book. Just the first book, right? I haven't even gotten to South Sudan yet. That's coming. It's out now, and so people can read it. But I wrote that first novel to talk about how romantic love can change us, transform us, no matter what, no matter how long we stay together, no matter what happens. And I wrote this second book about familial love, and the love of a child and what family really means. Does it have to be what we used to say, 2.5 kids and a picket fence? Usually
Right.
not.
I think that's especially important today
Mm.
because, it's people have multiple parents. I mean, they have stepfathers, stepmothers, stepsisters, stepbrothers. It's hard to keep up with how many they have. And and you're younger than me, but
I'm not that much
people,
younger.
yeah, you're younger.
Right
But
behind you.
well, the people that we knew when we were growing up were always married. When people got a divorce, it was like, it was kind of like I had a woman told me yesterday that she had 3 children before she graduated from high school. And I go,
Mhm.
what? She goes, well, I got married my senior year and they wouldn't let me go because I was pregnant. I said, oh my gosh. She said, so I had 3 children before I was finally able to go back. I just think
But
that is the
it's
ridiculous,
still
isn't it?
happening. It's still
Yes.
happening. Although it has gotten better in some places in our country. I hope it doesn't slide back.
No.
Um, my mother had to quit. She was a teacher. She
Yeah.
had to quit her job at 4 months because she was showing. She was pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That was 1964.
Yep.
Mhm.
It's amazing how things have just changed. And we think that was just yesterday, but it's really a lot longer than we think it's been. I can't believe somebody said to me, well, that happened in 2003. I go, that was 20 years ago. I go, how did that happen? How did we get into this Jetson? I feel like we're living the Jetsons now with all these flying cars and robotics and AI and all this stuff.
Give me the
But
flying cars any day. The
I,
AI,
I
but the
just want to
flying
be able
cars
to
I'll take.
stick my head in a hood and get different hairstyles where I don't have to do it myself. I always wanted to be Betty. She stuck her head in there and she come out with, you know, anyway.
Yeah,
But
but you
of
do it
course,
so well. So it's interesting that you are wanting to. I get it, because sometimes I just want something to write a paragraph for me. But
yeah,
you do. I mean, you're so good with that kind of thing. You probably have to do it every single day, not just for yourself.
You know, I don't do hair at all anymore because COVID just shut everything down. All the salon I worked in is closed. I don't do my own hair anymore other than color it. It just grows. And I just put something on it to make it not look gray. And it's funny, the more times I change it, the more friends I make. And so I thought, well, if I want to have a lot of friends, especially young people come up to me all the time and say, I love your hair. I go, well, why didn't I do this a long time ago? I love to make new friends. So I'll keep changing. I'm a peacock or a chameleon or whatever. But Kathy, so you've written this book, and this was always the dream to write for you.
Yes, always. I wrote
And
this book when, well, I got published when I was 16,
yes,
out of college in the literary magazine. And I got paid for it too. I got an award. And I was hooked after that.
yeah.
Uh, it was an apocalyptic piece called The Gossamer Thread about the end of the world and how people who was going to die, and they all ended up surviving because they cooperated. See, it was there even then.
Yeah, the seed was planted. Now, was this your parents that did that to you? What did your parents do again? I forgot.
But it was my father in that he loved story.
Yeah.
He loved story, as did my uncle. We would sit on the swing every summer and drink tea and tell stories, some tall tales at that, and always about the weather. They were farmers. Always
Oh,
about the weather.
weather is number one. Yeah.
But my mother wanted to write and did write, but didn't. She did get a poem published, but she went on to teach, and she was really, really an amazing mathematician. She got a
Wow.
job at Los Alamos, and her dad wouldn't let her go. Um, and yeah,
Oh my gosh.
so she
That
was.
happened back then too, a
It
lot.
did 1940s, 1950s.
Mhm.
So in a way, I get them confused. She was Gypsy Rose Lee, or I was Gypsy Rose Lee. She really wanted me to write, but so did my teachers. And so I wasn't so certain until high school. I really got a flavor of it in my very first story that I wrote. That was fiction. I was writing a lot of nonfiction for 5th grade, but in 6th or 7th, I wrote my first short story. And then I thought, okay, I could do this. This is kind of fun. Wouldn't it be great to do this for a living? And then when I hit high school, I got all this teacher support in
What
college.
was the writers that you wanted to emulate? What were some of them that you read when you were a child that really sparked your imagination?
We'll talk about my children's books first. There was one about poodles that I can it's lost forever, but I was just in love with these poodles. They were like people, very, very
Poodles.
humanized, yes. And I loved animals, still do. And then there was something by a Croatian or a Czech man, and it was called The Three Little Horses. I still have it.
Oh, I don't know that book.
It
Wow.
was about, you would love it. It was
I
about
bet.
horses that went to the circus and then they went to act. And I'll have to send you a copy. So those were my first children's books that I fell in love with. And then my favorite middle school book was The Mixed Up Files of,
Oh,
and the Metropolitan Museum is where Diana's first job is. So it influenced me a lot. Because I was always thinking about running away.
yeah, I was
Winning the
too.
circus
Toby
too.
Tyler joins the circus. That was one of my favorite books. Toby Tyler. Oh, I
Yeah.
wanted to join the circus. I wanted to go to Swiss boarding school. I just, uh, for me, I didn't have parents that traveled at all, but I had a dormitory across the street of international students who came to this business college, and these boys were dressed in suits and they were from all over the world and they were charming and they treated us like we were little princesses. And so I thought, well, that's the way guys are going to be when I grow up. But I grew up in the 70s and they weren't like that at all. So I've always been very attracted to the foreign, you know, um, gentleman international behavior. And so that's how I met my first husband, was in school, in college. But you had this influence from your parents, and you were writing, but you were also, you have, your daughter's here tonight, you have a son, and you have an interesting backstory of just your family dynamic. You
I
want to
do.
share a little of that?
I do. So I moved all over the United States as a child. I say my father worked for the government. He worked for the FBI. So we moved every 2 years. And we were disciplined sort of like the kids in The Sound of Music. There are only two of us. There was a lot of that kind of thing going on. Military family, FBI,
Yep.
cross the road and get a ticket, and that's the end of it. So I grew up rather structured, and it was the 70s, and I wasn't that way anymore. And so I set about to see the world. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but it was an intention. And so
You did pretty well, in my opinion.
I did. My dad used to say, not quite certain what you do, but you must do it really well.
Absolutely.
So anyway, I ended up working first for National Geographic, researcher, then writer, but mostly kids writer. And then went back and got a graduate degree.
My national, I've subscribed to them forever. Yeah.
I need to take a picture of the first hologram that was on the cover of National Geographic. It was in 1984. And there was an ad that featured that. And the person that was researching it fell ill. So they were looking for somebody to do the final check on the research. And I found 3 things wrong, and they published it like I wanted it. Like it.
Wow.
And I was really proud of myself. And then the VP came down and told me I'd stepped out of my job description, but I've got it on my wall.
That's a great story.
It's such a cool memory. So at that point, actually, I knew I needed to go back to school. And there I met the editor of the Foreign Service Journal. I was really into getting that job. And he kept saying, no, we don't have a position. Finally, he said, okay, I'm a very persistent person. Okay, I have somebody at Red Cross who needs an editor. And that's how I started.
Wow.
And, went all over the United States covering all kinds of disasters, and I did a lot of work on HIV/AIDS, and then went to South and Eastern Africa, and then went to Europe, and was in Europe during the war in Iraq, the Bosnian War, and lots of African war and famine.
Yeah.
So I covered all that. And Afghanistan, we weren't there yet, the Americans, but the Russians were, and it was really sad.
Yeah. It's really interesting. That's why I love reading author stories, because it takes you to those places and you get to kind of see how it really is. And a lot of the things we see on the news is the sensationalized things, and we don't, I remember the first time I went to England, I was on a bus and I was shocked they had freeways. England has freeways, and I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I thought, or Jerusalem, or all these places have freeways, and I just keep seeing, Mary on a donkey.
Well,
it's so sad. So that's why
I have
you
a
need
lot
to
of
read.
hedges there too, so I can understand it. They have
Yeah.
tiny roads, and they
Oh,
have
yeah.
freeways. So my son was born in Switzerland,
Oh,
and then I think that's why I got the travel bug. That's the only way I can explain it. And my daughter is from China.
oh, Amy, right? Hi, Amy.
It's Amy.
Daughter probably, or oh,
Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you. I've heard so much about you and your book.
Okay.
All good things.
All good, really. I
Mhm.
mean it. Your mother's very proud of both of you, so very excited to have family members come. I mean, Anju Gatani had her family come. It's so nice to have your family here too. Everybody bring your families. Everybody wants to know if you're real people. You know, I had an author one time who was a National Book Award winner asked a group of school children, "Where do you think I live?" And they go, "In a mansion." And she had a PowerPoint presentation and she showed her house and they go, "Huh?" It was just, a 3-bedroom ranch style house, and they were just, like, so disappointed. They expected, I don't know, the Taj Mahal or something. I don't know what they expect, but and then I think the next pertinent question was, "Do you have a pet? Do you have a dog or do you have a cat?" "No." And that shocked them too. They just couldn't believe somebody didn't have a pet. But this is East Texas. So anyway, what's the craziest thing that you've ever been asked as an author that kind of made you go, well, hmm, you know, have you had a few of those?
I've had people walk out of readings before, but
Are
they
you kidding
bothered
me?
to ask a question. Yeah, I mean, my writing can be considered controversial. Um, the Let me think about the a question. Well, the question I get all the time, I don't know that it's that strange, is, are you Lebanese?
Okay. And you're Southern, so that's
Well, it doesn't make any sense that I would be Lebanese. And I'm all, when I'm on book clubs, I always show my picture, and now I show videos, and I'm thinking, okay, so that's a little off the mark, but I get asked it a lot. So yeah.
it's
And
always strange when that happens too. I had a man come up to me and my husband one time and he said, "So what do you Jewish people think of this dance?" I'm going, "Is he talking to us?"
everybody thinks
I mean,
I'm
I'm Methodist and my
yeah.
husband was Church of Christ. And I was just going, I'm from Kansas and he's from East Texas. I go, I have tons of Jewish friends, authors, and lots of people, roommate in college. But I just thought, what would make them think? What made them think that you were Lebanese?
My book. I guess that I think in a way it's a compliment,
Yeah.
because it could be that they say that my writing is accurate enough for me to have lived there. And like I said, I did know somebody and dated somebody from there and came to know it that way. And I visited there, and one was a work trip. So I've worked there. Um, but I do believe that writers can use their imagination if it's well researched, and if they use someone to check their facts and make sure that, in other words, what they call today is a sensitivity reader. What I called it was interviewing. I interviewed a couple down the street. He was Jewish and she was Lebanese. And it was just background research for me. And they read parts of it for me. I go on. I do have readers like that. I think that's important.
It
But
is important.
I I believe that we need all perspectives in terms of writing about the world. That's my bottom line. I think that there's a place for me to write about it, and there's a place for people that have lived in that particular country to write about it. And they're going to get it more spot on than I am, and that's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay.
But what do you think about political correctness when you're telling a story? This is a big controversial thing to me because I don't think we can rewrite history. There was so much controversy about Gone with the Wind, and Margaret Mitchell writing the story. And I go, you have to remember the time that it was written, you know, and, of course we see things differently now. And then a lot of places, people don't see anything differently at all. But I don't think you can rewrite past history. You have to be able to tell it, especially if it's a historical fiction or a real conversation or whatever. But
Well, I agree. I think a lot of censorship is covering up history now instead of exposing it more. But
Right.
I always go back to that disco ball that Jeffrey won. I'm kidding.
Hey,
Kidding.
Jeffrey.
Um,
Yay.
I always go back to that disco ball and think whose history. And that's why we need all these writers telling stories.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's open this up for conversation. We have so many people here that are authors and family members and friends. I just want everybody to speak up if you have something you want to say about Kathy or comment about or question, just speak up. I see that Carol has her hand up.
I
Well, huge cheers and
Yeah.
congratulations on your launch day, Kathy. What an accomplishment. I'm so proud to know you. I feel like there are multiple
glad to
things in
know you.
common between, you talked about military, and of course, my stories are inspired by wounded veterans. Amy being here is amazing. We've talked about her before. And
Mhm.
the question I have for
So
you,
glad you're seeing and meeting each other tonight.
I know it's really lovely to see her here. Um, you talked about your humanitarian background, and I'm wondering if there might be a piece of advice you'd like to offer me. I'm actually going to Ghana for a month to do humanitarian work for Care Africa, and it's coming up in a few months. And if you have advice from me, I'd welcome it.
Well, I have some advice, but you don't need it because my advice would be yourself. It's the truth. You are going to find the most hospitable, lovely people, no matter if they have a lot of money or if they are living on the street. They will welcome you with open arms. They will be incredibly grateful, and well, they should be. And I have a lot of advice about food, but we can talk about that.
You guys need to talk.
It's just a wonderful experience, and I wish I could do it again. Best times of my life. And I truly never felt more at home. And I think my son is finding the same things. The story he's telling about staying with families. And do you know where you will be staying? Will you be in a hotel?
Oh, I don't know about housing, probably an apartment because it's a month, but it'll be in Accra in the capital of Ghana.
You're just going to have a wonderful time. I guess I would say if there's any way, take a week at the end and travel outside. I regret that I worked so hard and didn't get to travel any more than I did. I only went on one safari the whole time.
Oh man,
Don't
yeah.
be that person. So there's my advice.
Okay,
Fun. You're gonna have a great time, and so are they.
We
good
want a
advice.
full photographic experience share. So
Yeah,
we're sharing everybody's travels right now. And I'm just feel like I've been to Africa, I've been to Paris, I've been all these wonderful places. So please share. Yeah.
will do. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have a question.
Yay!
Oh, hi.
Hi,
It's
Sarah.
great to see everybody. I've been so chaotic with this move and internet in and out. So here I am. And I just picked up the novel today, Kathy, because I saw the notice.
Oh, it just came out. So thank
Yeah, I got it on my Kindle and read just the first few chapters, and it's wonderful. And I just want to say the second novel, Syndrome, is not holding true because your writing is stronger in this one. And it just immediately gripped me with all the visceral things that blossoming bush that turned into these insects attacking her was like such a symbol of her experiences, the difficulties, and it was just beautiful. So my question is to go back to you talking about being asked if you're Lebanese. And, I've written characters in foreign countries where I've lived and worked, and sometimes the accusation of cultural misappropriation occurs. So does that happen to you? Like you can't write unless you are from that country? And I don't believe that, but have you been accused of that?
So thank you for your compliment on that image, because I had an agent tell me I needed to take it out and I wouldn't do it.
Oh,
I
good.
use it now, but they were like, I don't understand this. Thank you. Um,
Good.
and cultural appropriation, misappropriation. I think it can happen. I think the important thing is to be kind and to get a reader who understands the country and people you are writing about. With my first book, I wrote it so early that I wasn't even thinking that.
Mhm.
I have never had anyone who was from another culture tell me that I did something wrong. I have had Americans
Yes.
offended. Not many, but a few. And I fully expected that. Does it hurt a little bit? Yeah. But I just really wanted to tell these stories. I had, to be totally honest, I had a moment where I thought, I need to just write about me all the time. And I actually have a memoir. A lot of it is just about me. And I thought, this is the most boring thing I've ever written, because it was my very early life before I was in other cultures. I would say don't write about other cultures if you have never known another culture.
Correct.
That's rare these days. And get sensitivity readers. That's what I would say. We've got other people here though that might disagree, but I think I just always try to be kind and tell and dig deep in all my characters. The hardest character I wrote was the warlord, because I wanted to make him seem human and likable at the same time as being fierce. And I don't know that I succeeded in that, but Diana's perspective on him is not correct at the beginning. Let me say that.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Anju.
Congratulations, Kathy. I am so happy for you. And I can't wait to see this book fly literally off the shelves, because I read the first book and I was just like, wow, this is really incredible. So congratulations. And, you know, for being so observant to take the time and interest to really put your head down and look into other cultures and bring out all the nuances and all the difficulties that so many times is just bypassed. You know, thank you, really.
Thank you. That's high praise. Thank you, because you do come from India, and I am so appreciative of your enjoyment of the novel. Thank you. And I love yours. I'm about to start number 2.
Oh my gosh, get ready. Oh my gosh, she's just like Kathy. And she's just like Kathy. The second book blew me away, just like Kathy's did. I go, maybe this is a trend. Maybe we're going to stop that thing. The first book is, you know, you can't ever compete, because I think you guys are blowing it out of the water with your second book. So I know Carol's there. I'm telling you, each book keeps getting better to me from all of you. You're doing great. I'm so
That's
proud.
what you're supposed to do, right?
Right.
So I had a question for you, Kathy. And this is based off of book 1, The Shores of Our Souls. I haven't read the book 2 yet, but you know, as I was reading it, what I understood, and I may be wrong, is that there's a reason why Diana and Kasim get together. Many reasons, several. One of them is escapism from what they have known before and the experiences they've lived before. They find something new in each other. At the same time, it also causes a repulsion or repel effect, because you said, you know, there's no unanimous vote that they should be together from their societies, individual, everyone's against them, which makes it harder for them to stick together, even though they want to, because that escapism draws them in together. How do you continue that in book 2? And why do they end up meeting? I know it's things happen for you. You see the scenes as the characters unfold, just like I do. It's like a movie. But how do they end up together, and how do you carry that relationship off in book 2, and why?
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for reading it so carefully. Absolutely right. And we carry our culture in our mind, even if we think we don't. So their minds are fighting against, their mind is fighting their mind. So how do they meet again?
Yeah, because there's just so much internal conflict in book one. You know, Diane and her friends and what they're telling her, and Kasim and his family and what they're telling him. They're fighting all of that to be together. And yet when they're together, it's just not working.
So there's a level of maturity in both of them that they haven't reached yet. So that's number one.
Okay.
They need to be mature enough to not have the expectations they do of one another. So that's number one. Number two, they're more empowered, especially Diana, who's lived on her own for 10 years in Africa doing humanitarian work, often in isolated places. She can meet him better, not as a gender, but as a human being. She's done the work he's done now. And so that's number two. Number three, I'm not going to give away the plot point, but he does something that she's always missed him. But okay, so this is something personal. I believe that once we love a person, we always love a person. It might, unless they are damaging to us in some way. If they're manipulative, okay. If they do something that we don't like, okay, but the damage is a whole nother issue. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people that love each other and repel each other at the same time. So the intuitive world would call it twin flames. So I believe that he does a couple of actions that turn her head and make her start thinking seriously. He's never stopped loving her. He just acted like he didn't. And then there's some time again that they're away from each other. And then when he returns again, she's gone through loss. When he meets her again, he's gone through loss, a lot of loss. And they find a way. Now, I don't want to ruin the ending, but it's not an HEA trope. It's my HEA.
It's just a justified ending, right?
It was very difficult to write that ending. And I wish Jan Fuller had been here with us tonight. She is my birthday twin. We were born the same day. She was in Lebanon and I was in Chicago. And we went to the same university. And then she became chaplain of Hollins University and then chaplain of Elon University. And she is in the Caribbean right now, so she couldn't attend. But she had told me her story that will be in the ending. It's very true to her own story. And I said, can I use this? And she said, yes. And so that's how the story ends. And it is a child. It's a child that brings them together in the end. Again, not what we think it's going to be.
Oh boy, now she's really got you all peaked to read this book, right? So fantastic. I love it. So
Christy Lee, I just want to make sure Christy Lee, because Christy Lee came just for me. She's with my publisher, and I just wanted to say hello and thank her. And did you have a question?
Thank you so much, Kathy. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to congratulate you and thank you. And I just really love what you write about the human connection. I think it's important, just the subject matter alone. I loved your first book. I'm excited to read your second one. And yeah.
Christy Lee's a beautiful poet. She's also a novelist, but I just love her poetry.
Poetry is what I like doing the most. That's what comes the most naturally to me. So no, but congratulations. I'm so happy.
Writers. Poets make great writers. You need to get me your book.
Thank you.
Kathy, you'll have to fill her in. But this is wonderful having so many people here to support you, Kathy, but you never miss hardly ever one of our book club meetings. And I think that's important. And I think that shows why so many people are here. You're a good person. And, you know, I love people that are model authors, you know, authors who make me want to be a better person. So I cannot thank you for your generosity and for this incredible story that you're sharing with the world. And it is my job now to make sure that every one of you guys read it and share it and read it and share it and make it the gift that keeps on giving. Is there any, did you write book club discussion questions for this book?
I'm in process right now. As you know, it's been a slight roller coaster ride the past few months. And I've started them and stopped them and started and stopped them, but I will post them as soon as I have them finished. They did not make it into the book, but I will post them.
Okay, that's okay. But, you know, I was told by my agent that the best thing to do is all the things you want people to know, ask the questions so you can talk about that.
Mm.
So that's how I did my questions, because I had a lot of people, you know, they may not, only one person, another author, asked me about my mother in my book. And I thought everybody had asked me about my mom. Nobody did. But so I brought that up. But I will be looking forward to seeing those questions. Those are going to be, how many are you going to do?
20, I think, 15 or 20. Letting people choose, I think, is important. I had them for shores, but nobody really used them. So it wasn't the first thing out of the gate for this book for me. But they're almost there, and I'm happy to share them. Absolutely.
Did you have another author interview you for, one of the things my publisher Grand Central did was they said, can you have another author interview you so we can put it up on the website? And that ended up being really cool, because I got my friend that was living in the Czech Republic to ask me the questions, and he asked me things I never would have dreamed of. And that was a lot of fun. You might do that, because it's fascinating to have
Roger's
other.
just interviewed me. It's a great interview.
Yay! All right. All right. And have you shared that? Have you shared it yet?
I haven't shared it on your page.
Okay.
It was just Thursday.
Okay.
And
Well,
she did
it's
a
hard
great
for me to,
job. One of the best interviews I've ever had.
yay.
She knows me really well, and she's read both books.
Right.
Thank you,
Kathy upped the stakes on the first page of 1,000 Flying Things. And I just want to say, I'm glad a representative from your publishers here. This is a beautiful, beautiful day, because 1,000 Flying Things released on ebook, the print's coming. But this is awesome. And I'll stop, because I think Jeffrey, he's had his hand raised for a long time.
Oh, Jeffrey, come on.
Thank you. No rush, Kathleen. I did continue on. It was lovely to hear all that.
This is Kathy's book baby, second book baby. I could go on and on about Kathy. She is an incredible writer, an incredible human. And Kathy Murphy, you said it so well, is Kathy, she supports so many other writers. And what we want as writers, we want other writers to support us back when we support them. So y'all help spread the word. And we thank Kathy Murphy for the Pulpwood Queens, but I'm going to give it back to you, Jeffrey, so you can say what you wanted to say.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you. I just wanted to say congratulations, Kathy, of course. And so this is something that always fascinates me about how other writers process. And so how do you write the stories, the hearts and minds of so many people who are different from you? You just mentioned the warlord. How do you do that? I'm fascinated by this.
Well, I would never have done him as a point of view character. I would have never put myself in his shoes like that. Because I've met warlords, but I didn't get to know them very well. And so all I can do is tell you about the process by which I write. I have an image, the characters start to talk to me. I write a first draft really fast. And by fast, I mean months. Doesn't mean a week. And then I start to revise. And that's when I really start to research. And when I start to ask people questions and interview them, and does this work for you? And does this not work for you? For this character, I'm going to not remember the author, and I apologize about this. I'm going to have to remember this from now on because I've been asked this question twice and I always remember this book. It's called Emma's War. And it's about a young woman who marries a warlord in South Sudan. Now, it's nonfiction, and it has nothing to do with the plot of my story, but it affected me in a way in that I read this after I was in Africa a while, and I thought, I knew this person, a composite of this person. So that book helped. Talking to people helped. Talking to people for 25 years who'd been displaced helped. Talking to people that were they were robbing food trucks and airplanes as they came in. It wasn't because they were horrible, violent people. It was because they were trying to feed their people. Right. So there's always a reason, and there's always humanity behind a story, behind a character. And that's what I always try to remember. I think my travel helped. I think growing up in a slightly Southern dysfunctional family helped. Forgiving that slightly dysfunctional family helped a lot. And becoming a mother and seeing what my parents were going through, which I was not going through, but they did. Because when I was in high school, my mother got Parkinson's. She was having hallucinations. My dad had to stay home with her. I almost didn't get to college. And we were homeless in food stamps for a while. So I have not stepped in the shoes of a warlord, but I have been hungry and I have been ashamed and I have had to keep secrets. I just transfer things from my own life and hope that they work. I'm sure I miss the mark sometimes, but I always have readers, lots of readers before I ever go pitch a book. That's why I don't have many, but the next one will be all about me, so I won't have to have readers.
That's the kind of answer I'm not surprised to hear, because leave it to you to find the kindest reason anybody might do anything.
Oh, Jeffrey, thank you. Oh my goodness, thank you. I'm so honored to have you here, and I remember that always. Thank you so much. I do try to be kind, and I try to think that way. I don't always succeed.
I think you do an amazing job.
Can I just jump in real quick?
Yeah.
Before we run out of time, I just want to say congratulations. I'm so glad it's out there. I'm one of the lucky ones that got to read the manuscript. I loved it. And I loved what you did with Beale. Is that how you say his name, the warlord? Got it right. Okay. I was quite surprised at the little bit that you begin to see about him, because I assumed he was the way Diana saw him. So great job with that. Congratulations.
Kasim in the wrong way too. She's not totally right about Kasim.
Right.
He's not right about her either. That's the way the world works.
Does anybody ever really know anybody? I mean, we think we know people, but I think we write our own stories sometimes. Would you agree with that or disagree?
And do we know ourselves?
I think that's why we write.
that
Yeah.
disco ball again, like what is true? What is history? What's the story? I think that there are multiple stories for every event. So that's how I try to write. And I do sometimes, not all the time, take a character through multiple realities. Like, what if this happened? What if that happened? I'm pretty sure every writer here does that to some extent.
Mhm. Kathy, I've always said, I want to read your story. And,
Well, it's big.
as I know, but as you were talking, I was thinking to myself, has anybody ever written a book about what it's like to be the daughter of somebody in the FBI? Can anybody think of one book where
There is one, I don't remember the title, but there was one and I read it of all the books out there. It's interesting. And my dad's story was so interesting. He used to have to go arrest Hugh Hefner once a week.
what?
They were on a first name basis. Mhm.
What did he arrest him for?
Pornography, I guess. I don't know.
The
It's the
FBI was
50s.
watching
Okay, it
you.
wasn't today.
Oh my, well, see, there's a story right there. That could be a
He,
chapter.
he didn't care, it was just his job. I mean,
Right.
I'm sure he cared about some of it. Hugh Hefner is my favorite guy in the whole world, but he knew it was a minor thing. He also investigated child kidnappings.
Oh God. Yeah, that'd be,
So he was comparing the two.
wow. Wow. And your mom's role in all that. So your mom was raising, and how many in your family?
Just the two of us.
Yeah.
We have a history in the family of miscarriages. She had numerous miscarriages.
Wow.
Me and my brother, we were 6 years apart.
Wow. That's amazing. I can't wait to read that story. But right now, you've got
It's
a
coming.
really good one you guys need to read because it's going to be fantastic. And I have to say that, I always say this every year, but I've got most of half my books picked for 2024. I haven't let everybody know yet because it takes a while to figure out how it's all going to play. But the books I'm reading this year are on another level. You know what I'm saying? I'm reading a 724-page book that's going to be a book club selection. And everybody's going to go, no. And I go, it's Abraham Verghese's The Covenant of Water. And I just can't, you guys' books are on another level. And it's just like he took 14 years to write it. And I think that's a secret. I think a lot of our authors, really spend a lot of time on writing their books and making it right before just churning them out like, a newspaper, So I commend you for doing that, doing the research, having the beta readers, having, it makes all the difference in the world when you read these stories. And that's why they should all be movies, people. I really think so. If you were to leave anybody with a final comment on the importance of this book to you, what would you like to share?
Make me cry.
Barbara Walters. Oh no. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll start calling you. I thought when I was trying to publish Shores that it was the only thing I ever wanted. If it could just get published, I'd be okay. Because it took 12, 13, 14 years. But this book means so much more to me. I wish I could explain why. And just like children, I love Shores just as much, only differently. But I believe there has been more, I'll just say it, stress and struggle with this book, and it's made me value it more, that the world can actually read these words.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Oh, valuable. Yes. And I'm just blown away by everybody that came tonight to support me at
Me
such
too. Me too.
at
I'm happy.
such little notice. With me like sending all these messages and going, I don't even know where this is going. I hope it's
Because
going.
where's the Zoom? I go, I'm not home yet. You know, oh gosh.
um so it's not just the book, it's the community that's surrounding this book and the community that continues to form that you have a huge part in, Kathy Murphy, and all of my friends here who are their own amazing authors in their own right.
That's
And
right.
I'm going to include my daughter in that. You should see her art sometime.
I
Yeah.
would love to see her art. You know how much I love artists, so I would love to see it.
Amazing outline. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for coming. I think this was a really spectacular book launch, and I've forgotten, what month have we got you down for the book of the month? What month?
October.
October.
I
So
can't
we'll
tell
have
you the
plenty of
week, but
time to read the book and to come up with new
I'll
insights
send,
and questions.
I will send you my questions within 2 weeks. Give you
And
plenty of
don't forget the poem. I want to read the poem. I think that tells a lot about I think poetry is beautiful, and people go, oh, my poetry is not. I go, if somebody's a poet, they're usually, I always think of Ron Rash. He was a poet that turned to be an author. He's one of my and he was voted the best read aloud author anybody had ever. People were crying when he read. I think it was Saints Across the River. Maybe it was One Foot in Eden. But anyway, I have the best job in the world, and it's not one that I chose. It's one that God picked for me, and that's helping authors get their hands in the hands of readers around the world. So I'm going to be, doing the good fight, you guys. It's going to be 24 years this year. So get everybody on board to come. And I thought of another thing that I need to do to help authors, because so many authors send me books and I can't pick them all. I just can't. And, I think I got like over 1,000, 1,500 books. So I'm just going to quickly show you the ones that came in while I've been gone since I lost my power. But Paris Afton Bonds has sent me her book, and I'm really excited. Answering the Call. Let me get Answering the Call, Paris. I hope you see this on YouTube. I've got Kristen McDougall's book. It's coming out in October. She's a Killer. That's a great title, by the way, isn't it? That's great. And I love this author's name. Karen Swan, The Stolen Hours. Oh, beautiful. I mean, I'm telling you, I get the best books. And people go, well, I joined your book club and you didn't pick my book. And I go, you guys, I get a lot of books. Okay. And then Joy Jordan Lake sent me this beautiful hardcover, Under a Gilded Moon. Beautiful book. I'm so excited. I just took 6 with me to my daughters to, read. And I'm only halfway through, finished 2 and halfway through Covenant. But this one's great too. Snap Out of It by Maddie Dawson. And this is her pen name. That's why I had that Pulpwood Queen pop on. Do you know authors that have pen names? And I'll have her share it. But these are all great reads. And I'm going to do this at the end of every Tuesday night book club, so I can help at least get the author's book seen out there. And the last thing I want to share, Amy, you're an artist, and this is an idea you might think about doing. I take my art and I make it into wearable fashions for myself, for my friends, for gift giving, and for your home. And I just got in today my new book bag I love it. It's the Taj Mahal with the elephant painting that I did. And I'm keeping that one. Oh, but I have to keep this one because this is my rendition of, I run the Shah Rukh Khan fan and film club. And this is Shah Rukh Khan from Pathan. And last is one of my abstract paintings, beautiful colors. If you want, Kathy gave me, or actually won it in the silent auction at Girlfriend Weekend. The earrings made to look like her book, you know, and also a pair of my book made into earrings. And I didn't wear them tonight because we're talking about your new book. But what I wanted to say is, if you go to shopvita.com, if with your publisher's permission, you could create book bags. You could create things that would help promote your book, to give it a little bit more legs, and also it's something to carry your books in, you know, if that beautiful 1,000, you know, flying, that would be beautiful on one of these bags. So just an idea for all of you at Shop Vita. You don't get a big percentage of the profit, but you have no outward expense. You get samples at a discount that you can sell. But the other thing is, it provides jobs to women and men in third world countries like Pakistan, India, all over the world. And then they give 10% of the sales back for literacy endeavors. I really researched this company because I, you know, was an art history minor. Do your research. So I can't thank Kathy enough. Show us your book one more time, Kathy. Remind everybody in our listening audience when this goes up on YouTube to see the cover of your book.
And I'll read the Cindy Williams.
Oh, yeah. That is so cool that Cindy Williams.
It's very simple, but for those of us of a certain age, it just meant the world. And
I
I
believe
think
it.
she read this book right before she passed, is even
Yeah.
like beautifully written, a joy to read, and highly entertaining in the most wonderful way possible. Catherine Brown Ramsperger, quite simply, has written a great novel.
That says it all right there.
Really sound.
Cindy, you know, I mean, for those of us who loved, I go back to American Graffiti, okay? So I just loved her. So anyway, thank you, Kathy, for taking time out. I'm glad this worked, and I thank each and every one of you for coming, because it really does, you know, when it happens to you, it means a lot, doesn't it, Kathy? So if we all do it for each other, you know, more people will join. Yeah.
My heart is so full right now. I can't even fill another drop of blood into it. You guys, thank you, thank you, thank you. And you know, I would do the same for you any day, all of you. You just
I bow to the feet of our author queen, Kathy Ramsperger. So thank you so much, everybody. It's all about the story. We'll see you next week with our Book of the Month author, and it's all up on our website, www.thepulpwoodqueens.com, calendar of events. So we'll see you next time, and I'm glad this worked, Kathy. This was amazing. For those that don't know, I've been without power for over a week. No air conditioning. It's over 100 degrees. There was no Wi-Fi. And I got home and there's no refrigerator.
a line worker
Crap.
died. You told me that today, and it was on the national news. It's hot.
It was a girl, and she died in it's really, she got too hot. It's really hot, you guys. So stay cool, stay
Stay
safe,
cool.
have a wonderful summer. Read. Okay, bye everybody. Thank you, Kathy.
Kathy.
I
Thank
love you.
everybody. I love you too.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye everybody.